These are the Nike Air Max Plus golf shoes, and I bought a pair for £185 so I can let you know how they fit, feel and perform out on the course. Now I've got to admit, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for these shoes. When I was a teenager, which was many years ago, the Nike TNs were in the upper echelon, the elite of cool trainers. The problem is, now that I'm considerably older, I'm actually pushing 40 this year, if me and my friends were wearing these out on the course, we're just gonna look like we're trying to be a couple of utes.
To what?
To what?
Did you say utes? What is a ute?
Sorry, youths. And if you don't get that reference, that kind of proves my point. But whether or not I am too old or too uncool to wear these shoes, I bought them regardless, and I've got a few thoughts on how they actually fit and feel. I went true to size with these, and that's just about okay. Although, if you don't like a tight feeling, then you might want to consider going up at least half a size in these shoes, just to give you a little bit more room, because they do feel quite padded on the inside, and they do fit very close to the top of your toes. It wasn't a problem for me when I went true to size. They didn't give me any blisters or any rubbing whatsoever, but it certainly is a very compact and tight fit in here. In terms of the comfort underfoot, even though you've got the AirPods here, both on the forefront and the chunky AirPod along the heel of the shoe, they're not actually that soft. They're surprisingly firm. Now, they're not uncomfortable, but in terms of comparing them to something like a Nike React Foam or an Adidas Boost, these simply haven't got the softness like that. Now, that's not necessarily that bad a thing in terms of them being a golf shoe, because they have got quite a fair amount of stiffness to them. You can see here that you've got a TPU saddle here on the underside, and that is giving you a good bit of lateral support right here in the middle of the foot. Now, although they look really cool, well, you might think they look cool, I always thought they looked cool, with the AirPod units right the way on the midsole, it does mean that these shoes have got quite a hefty stack to them, so you don't really feel connected to the floor. Personally, I didn't really have any trouble with stability. I didn't feel that I was gonna particularly roll my ankle or anything like that. I didn't feel too high, but you certainly don't feel really in these shoes, and you don't really feel that connected to the floor. So it really depends upon what you like to feel out on the golf course. I've got a feeling if you like the look of these shoes and you really want to wear them, you're probably not that bothered about feeling that connected to the course. I think these are probably aimed at the more casual golfer who just want to wear shoes that they like the look of, rather than something a little bit more formal or a little bit more golfy. In terms of the actual grip on these shoes out on the course, I didn't find myself slipping. There was plenty of traction here in the midfoot, but I am quite surprised at the kind of low levels of traction these shoes are going to be providing at the heel section. You can see here that although there are these rubber nubs on the outside, they're only on the outside of the heel here. You haven't really got them necessarily on the inside, and they're quite big and chunky. So there's not a huge amount here at the heel for the shoe really to kind of grip into the turf in. Now, if you're playing in dry conditions, it's not really going to matter all that much, but the wetter it gets, certainly here in the UK, well, these aren't necessarily going to be offering you the best traction that you could possibly get. I did my full waterproof test with these shoes, which meant I poured 300 millilitres of water over both the upper on the toe as well as the bottom part of the laces. And you can see here that some water did get through the tongue section. Now, that's not necessarily a problem because there are plenty of golf shoes that perform in exactly the same way, and it means water isn't going to permeate through the upper on the toe. But if you're in really heavy wet conditions or you step in a deep puddle, well, your feet might get a little bit wet. The shoe itself cost me £185 here in the UK, and I'll put the US price on the screen now. And for that, that's quite a lot of money for what you're getting, because it's not a leather upper. This is, I believe, a synthetic upper on these shoes. And although you have got, you know, the classic kind of outer skeletal design, I suppose you'd call that. I don't really know what else to call it. What would you call that design? But you've got this plasticky material covering on the upper that way. You've got all these air pockets down at the bottom. You've got the TP saddle in the middle. But £185 for a casual pair of golf trainers, that's a lot of money. So I've got the Adidas Samba Luxe trainers right here. And these retail for £100. So £185 for these non-leather trainers, or £100 for these leather upper trainers. Now I appreciate that the styles are very, very different, so you might like these or you might like these, but that's a lot of money, £185. Overall, I haven't got any problems whatsoever in terms of the actual build quality of these shoes. They do feel pretty solid. And out on the golf course, I didn't really have any issues in terms of traction or stability, other than the fact that I didn't feel particularly connected to the ground in them. So really, I think the main point of these shoes is whether or not you really love the look and design, because if you do, then I think that's probably the most important thing that matters to you. These aren't bad golf shoes, they're just certainly not the best, and they're pretty expensive. However, my biological clock is tick, tick, ticking. I'm probably gonna sell these. I don't think these are for me. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think of the Nike Air Max Plus golf shoes? Tap the like and subscribe button if you've found this video helpful. And if you like the look of those Adidas Samba golf shoes and you want to know a little bit more about those, then I'll include my full review of those shoes right here.